Officer, I just need to know what happened back there. Folks said you raised your voice at the cashier.
I told her the price was wrong. That's it. I didn't touch anybody. Didn't make a scene.
All right. So just making sure we're all on the same page. You got ID on you?
I do. It's in my wallet, right pocket. You want me to grab it?
Not yet. Let's keep talking a second, okay?
At 11:45 M. Something rare happened inside Naval Special Warfare Command. A scheduled check-in didn't occur. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Reynolds was supposed to be in a secure briefing room by noon. Not a routine meeting. A classified planning session tied to an operation that would remain sealed for decades. The kind of briefing that doesn't wait and doesn't allow excuses. 15 minutes passed. No response. By protocol, his status was flagged. When an active-duty special operator with high-level clearance misses a scheduled check-in, the system doesn't assume traffic or bad reception. It escalates. Because men like Marcus Reynolds don't simply disappear. What the Pentagon didn't know yet was that Reynolds wasn't overseas. He wasn't compromised. He wasn't off the grid. He was lying face down on the polished tile floor of a Whole Foods in Virginia Beach. His hands were cuffed behind his back. An officer's knee pressed between his shoulder blades. Shoppers stood frozen nearby. Phones half raised. Unsure whether they were witnessing a routine arrest or something terribly wrong. Moments earlier, Reynolds had been buying groceries. Protein. Produce. Meal prep for the week. 45 minutes. That's all the time he thought he needed before his briefing. Enough to shop, drop the bags at home, and drive to base. Instead, those 45 minutes became the start of a federal investigation because the man on the floor wasn't a shoplifter. He wasn't a suspect. He wasn't a threat. He was a United States Navy SEAL. And every camera in that store was recording the moment his country failed to recognize him. Marcus Reynolds wasn't a name the public recognized. It wasn't supposed to be. His career existed in classified files, not news headlines. 14 years in the United States Navy. Naval Special Warfare Command. 4 combat deployments. 2 to Afghanistan. 1 to Syria. 1 to a location that would never be disclosed. A Silver Star for actions during a firefight that never appeared in any report. 3 Bronze Stars. A service record measured in silence. Not applause. The only visible mark of that life was the trident tattoo on his forearm. Eagle. Anchor. Trident. A symbol earned by fewer than 1% of those who ever attempt the training. A symbol that can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. That morning, Reynolds looked like any other customer. Black athletic shirt. Khaki cargo pants. Tactical boots worn soft from years of use. Off duty, but never off guard. Training had made readiness instinctive. He had 45 minutes before his briefing. Enough time to buy groceries for the week. His girlfriend was flying in that evening. The refrigerator was empty. The errand was routine. Predictable. Safe. He pushed a cart through the aisles of Whole Foods on Independence Boulevard. A store that served military families, contractors, and service members who blended in by design. Operators shopped there in civilian clothes every day. Fitness. Posture. Discipline, those were the only tells. Security cameras followed Reynolds from aisle to aisle. Every item he selected. Every step toward the checkout. Nothing hurried. Nothing suspicious. Just a man buying groceries before work. And somewhere near the front of the store, someone noticed him and decided he didn't belong. Near the front of the store, Amanda Whitfield paused mid-restock. She had been with Whole Foods less than a year. Morning shift. Routine work. She watched Marcus Reynolds approach the checkout lanes. A muscular black man. Reusable grocery bags in his cart. She didn't see him take anything. Didn't see him hide merchandise. Didn't see him bypass a register. In fact, the security cameras showed the opposite. Reynolds selected items from shelves, placed them in his cart, waited his turn, unloaded them onto the conveyor belt. But Amanda didn't look at the cameras. She felt uncomfortable. She stepped away from the aisle and found her manager. "There's a man at checkout," she said. "I think he might be shoplifting." The manager looked toward the registers, saw Reynolds paying, saw the cashier bagging items. "What makes you think that?" he asked. "I don't know," she said. "I just have a feeling." A feeling. No missing items, no alarms, no suspicious behavior. Just a feeling. The manager should have ended it there. Company policy was clear. Suspicion required evidence. Instead, he picked up the phone. Non-emergency line. He said, "We might have a shoplifter at Whole Foods on Independence." The dispatcher asked for a description. "Black male." The manager replied, "Athletic build, black shirt." That was it. No crime. No action. No proof. Just a demographic. 3 blocks away. Officer Derek Sloan received the call, and the moment that description left the dispatcher's mouth, Marcus Reynolds stopped being a customer and became a suspect. Officer Derek Sloan arrived at 1138 A.M. 8 years on the Virginia Beach Police Department. Patrol car pulled in without urgency. No lights. No sirens. To him, this wasn't a crime in progress. It was a check. The kind of stop he had done dozens of times before. Inside the store, Marcus Reynolds had already paid. His groceries were bagged. The receipt was folded in his hand. 10 feet from the exit, Sloan stepped into his path. "Sir, I need you to stop." Reynolds stopped immediately. His hands stayed visible. His posture relaxed but alert. Training took over before thought. "Is there a problem?" "Officer," he asked. "We received a report of shoplifting." Sloan said, "I need to see your receipt." Reynolds nodded, slowly set the bags down, reached into his back pocket in a clear, deliberate motion. "Here you go." The receipt showed everything. Items listed, time-stamped, paid in full. Sloan glanced at it. Not long enough to verify. Not long enough to compare. "I'm going to need to see some ID." "For what?" Reynolds asked calmly. "You can see I paid." "I need to verify who you are." Reynolds reached for his wallet. Same controlled movement. Same visibility. He handed over his military ID. Active duty. United States Navy. Naval Special Warfare Command. Sloan studied the card. His expression didn't change. "This doesn't prove you paid for those groceries." The cameras caught the moment Reynolds paused. "The receipt proves that," he said. "The ID proves who I am." Sloan handed the receipt back. "I need you to come with me." "For what purpose?" "To verify your story." Reynolds looked past Sloan, toward the exit, toward the clock on the wall. "My story," he said evenly, "is that I bought groceries, and the store cameras will show that." Sloan didn't respond, because by then, verification was no longer the goal. Control was. Officer Reina Martinez arrived moments later. 3 years on the force. Body cam activated as she approached. Her lens widened the frame. Reynolds. Sloan. The exit. The small crowd beginning to slow and watch. "What's going on?" she asked. "Possible shoplifter." Sloan said, "He's being uncooperative." Uncooperative. Reynolds turned his head slightly so Martinez could see his face. "I've shown my receipt," he said. "I've shown my military ID. I've explained exactly what happened. What part of that is uncooperative?" Sloan stepped closer, close enough to be felt. "Your attitude," he said. "My attitude is patient." Reynolds replied, My attitude is professional. My attitude is what keeps situations like this from escalating. Sloane's hand settled on his holster. Not drawing, just present. You fit the description, he said. Reynolds didn't raise his voice. What description? Black male. Athletic build. This location. The words hung there. That's not a description. Reynolds said quietly. That's a demographic. Half the men at Naval Station Norfolk fit that. I don't make the rules. Sloane answered. Reynolds met his eyes. Actually, you do. You decide what's reasonable suspicion. You decide whether a receipt and a military ID are enough. And right now, you're deciding they're not. Martinez shifted her weight. Her body cam caught it. The hesitation. Derek, she said. Maybe we should just check the store cameras. I don't need cameras. Sloane snapped. I have a description and a suspect. Reynolds exhaled slowly. I have a briefing at noon, he said. Classified. Time sensitive. And you're detaining me for buying groceries. I don't care about your briefing. Sloane replied. You should. Reynolds said. The people waiting for me care about national security. Sloane's jaw tightened. Turn around, he said. The temperature in the store dropped. And for the first time since Sloane arrived, everyone watching understood this was no longer about groceries. Reynolds didn't move. Not because he was defiant, because he understood exactly where this moment was heading. Turn around. Sloane repeated. For what charge? Reynolds asked. I've complied with everything you've asked. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Reynolds looked directly into Sloane's body camera. I want it on record, he said calmly. I am not resisting. I am cooperating under protest. He paused, then spoke words he knew would either end this or expose it. I'm a Navy SEAL. Reynolds said, You don't want to do this. Sloane's expression hardened. I don't care if you're a damn astronaut. The sentence landed heavy, sharp, final. Martinez's body cam caught the shift immediately. The moment where judgment gave way to ego. Sloane grabbed Reynolds's arm. Reynolds did not pull away, did not tense, did not fight. 14 years of training had taught him when force mattered and when patience was the weapon. For the record, Reynolds said as his arm was twisted behind him. I am Chief Petty Officer Marcus Reynolds, United States Navy. I am assigned to Naval Special Warfare Command. I have shown proof of purchase and military identification. I am being detained without probable cause. Shut up, Sloane said. I will not. Reynolds replied evenly. I am documenting this encounter for the recording devices present. He raised his forearm slightly as Sloane pushed him forward. The trident tattoo was unmistakable. Eagle. Anchor. Trident. You see this, Reynolds said. This isn't a costume. This isn't a tattoo you buy online. This represents the most demanding military training in the world. Sloane glanced at it. Anyone can get a tattoo. Check my ID again, Reynolds said. It says Naval Special Warfare Command. I've seen fake military IDs. Sloane replied. You're looking at a real one. That's what everyone says. Martinez's silence grew louder than words. Then Sloane shoved. Reynolds had already begun to turn, already complying. It didn't matter. He was driven forward violently. His groceries flew. The bag split open. Reynolds hit the floor face first. He turned his head at the last second, absorbing the impact with his shoulder, protecting his skull by instinct. Sloane dropped his knee into Reynolds's back. Stay down. I am down, Reynolds said. The handcuffs clicked shut. Cold metal. Public floor. Cameras everywhere. And in that moment, Every lens in the store captured the same truth. This was no longer a misunderstanding. It was an assault. While Officer Sloan kept his knee pressed into Reynolds's back, something else was unfolding miles away. Inside Naval Special Warfare Command, the missed briefing had crossed a threshold. 15 minutes late became 20. Then, 25. At that level, absence wasn't an inconvenience. It was a security concern. Marcus Reynolds held active clearance tied to operations that couldn't afford uncertainty. When operators like him went dark, protocols didn't ask questions. They acted. Location data was pulled. Last known movement reviewed. A pattern emerged that made no sense. Reynolds hadn't deviated from routine. He hadn't gone off-grid. He was stationary. At a grocery store. That contradiction triggered escalation. 2 men were dispatched immediately. Not local law enforcement. Not base security. Department of Defense. While shoppers gathered near the entrance of Whole Foods, phones raised. Whispers spreading. Sloan continued his paperwork. Possible shoplifting. He said aloud. Subject detained. Reynolds remained still beneath him. For the record, he said calmly, I am not resisting. I have complied with all commands. Sloan ignored him. Martinez stood a few steps back, her body cam capturing everything, the restraint. The crowd. The groceries scattered across the floor. She checked her watch. Derek, she said quietly. He said he has a classified briefing. Sloan didn't look up. I don't care. But somewhere beyond the sliding glass doors, urgency was accelerating. Because when a Navy SEAL with Reynolds's clearance misses a secure briefing, the question isn't why. It's who has him. And 15 minutes after the alert went out, 2 black sedans turned into the Whole Foods parking lot. They didn't park. They stopped. The doors opened. And the people who stepped out didn't run. They didn't shout. They walked with the calm of men who knew exactly how much authority they carried and exactly how badly someone inside had miscalculated. The automatic doors slid open. Morning light spilled across the entrance of the store. 2 men in dark suits walked in. Credentials already in hand. Not badges meant to impress. Badges meant to end conversations. Department of Defense. They didn't raise their voices. They didn't scan the room. They walked straight toward the man on the floor. Officer, one of them said, his tone flat and controlled. Step away from him. Now. Sloan looked up. Confusion crossed his face first. Then irritation. Who the hell are you? He asked. The credentials were held closer. Department of Defense. Office of the Inspector General. Martinez took an instinctive step back. Sloan's knee lifted slightly from Reynolds's back. We're here for Chief Petty Officer Marcus Reynolds, the second man said. He missed a scheduled secure briefing. Sloan froze. How do you know his name? He asked. Because we've been tracking his location for the past 20 minutes. The agent replied. When operators with his clearance level fail to check in, we don't guess. The agent knelt beside Reynolds. Chief, are you injured? Negative. Reynolds said. Just detained. On what charge? The agent asked, without looking up. Shoplifting. Sloan said. The word hung in the air. The agent looked at the scattered groceries. The receipt still folded on the floor. The military ID lying inches away. Shoplifting, he repeated. Then he stood and turned to Sloan. You're detaining a Navy SEAL for shoplifting. We received a report. Sloan said. Did you verify it? The agent asked. Silence. Did you confirm he paid for these items? Silence. Did you verify his military identification with Naval Special Warfare Command? Sloan had no answer. The second agent stepped closer. "This is now a federal matter," he said. "Your body cam footage is being preserved. The store's security footage is being subpoenaed." He turned to Martinez. "Keys." She didn't hesitate. The cuffs came off. Reynolds stood slowly, rolling his shoulders, assessing himself with the practiced calm of a man trained to survive worse. "You're free to go." "Chief," the agent said, "your briefing has been postponed. Command is aware." Reynolds nodded once. Sloan stayed where he was, still recording, still trapped inside his own footage. And for the first time since this started, he understood something that couldn't be undone. Every second of what he had done was now permanent. The investigation began before the store even reopened its doors the next morning. Within hours, preservation orders were issued. Body camera footage, store security cameras, witness phone recordings, dispatch logs. Nothing could be altered. Nothing could be erased. At the Pentagon, Marcus Reynolds's missed briefing had already been logged as resolved. But what replaced it was something far larger. A federal civil rights inquiry. The FBI was notified before midnight. So was the U.S. Attorney's Office, and by sunrise, Officer Derek Sloan's personnel file was pulled in full. 8 years on the force, 19 complaints, excessive force, unlawful detentions, failure to follow procedure, discriminatory conduct. Most had been dismissed. Some had resulted in written reprimands. None had stopped him. Patterns emerged immediately. Retail environments, grocery stores, shopping centers. The same description appearing again and again. Black male, athletic build, 12 prior shoplifting stops, 0 charges, 0 convictions. Every stop ended the same way: release after verification. Verification Sloan had delayed, dismissed, or ignored. Internal Affairs flagged the data within hours. This wasn't a mistake. It was a method. By noon, Sloan was relieved of duty. His badge collected. His service weapon secured. His patrol car keys turned in. He was instructed not to speak to anyone except legal counsel. At headquarters, Captain William Forsythe watched the body cam footage twice. The second time, he paused on one line. "I don't care if you're a damn astronaut." That sentence alone created liability. The rest of the footage made it catastrophic, because the cameras showed a man who complied, a receipt that was valid, an ID that was real, and an officer who chose not to care. The investigation widened, and it wasn't slowing down. It was accelerating. Federal court convened 6 weeks later in Norfolk. The case drew attention long before the first witness was sworn in. Not because of politics, not because of headlines, because the facts were unavoidable. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Reynolds entered the courtroom in full dress uniform. White, immaculate. 14 years of service carried across his chest. Silver Star. 3 bronze stars. Combat ribbons. And above them all, the trident. The jury watched him take the stand. On the screen behind him, the body cam footage began to play. They saw the stop, the receipt handed over, the ID dismissed. They heard the words, "I don't care if you're a damn astronaut." The courtroom went silent. Reynolds testified calmly. "I stopped at the store to buy groceries before a classified briefing." He said, "I had 45 minutes. I never imagined I wouldn't make it." He described the moment Sloan questioned his ID. "I showed him my military credentials. He said they could be fake." The receipt. He said receipts could be forged. The trident tattoo. He said anyone could get a tattoo. The prosecutor paused the video. "Chief Reynolds," she asked, "did you resist at any point?" "No." He replied, "I complied because I knew the cameras were my protection." She leaned closer. How did it feel to be on that floor? Reynolds didn't hesitate. "I've been in combat zones," he said. "I've been under fire. I've never felt more powerless than I did on the floor of that grocery store." The defense offered little. Procedure, judgment call, good faith. The jury had already seen the footage. And the footage didn't lie. The jury deliberated for 5 hours. No questions. No requests to review testimony. When they returned, Officer Derek Sloan stood. The foreperson's voice was steady. Guilty. On every count, deprivation of rights under color of law, false imprisonment, assault, civil rights violations. Sloan didn't react at first. No outburst. No denial. Just the hollow stillness of someone realizing there would be no appeal to authority this time. Sentencing was scheduled 6 weeks later. When the judge spoke, her tone carried no anger, just clarity. "Officer Sloan," she said, "you were entrusted with a badge to protect the public. You used that badge to target a citizen based on race, to ignore evidence, and to escalate a routine encounter into a violent detention." She referenced the video, the receipt, the ID, the words, "I don't care if you're a damn astronaut." That sentence, she said, captures a level of contempt for evidence, service, and constitutional rights that this court cannot ignore. She reviewed the enhancements, targeting an active duty service member, use of force after compliance, a documented pattern of misconduct. The sentence, she said, pausing, is 13 years in federal prison. The courtroom stayed silent. Sloan was handcuffed, the same restraints he had placed on Marcus Reynolds. As he was led away, the cameras captured one final image: a former officer, stripped of his badge, walking out of a courtroom under guard, authority gone, accountability complete. The civil case followed quickly. The city didn't contest it. They couldn't. The footage was too clear, the timeline too precise, the liability undeniable. Virginia Beach agreed to a multi-million-dollar settlement. Policy reforms were written into the agreement. Federal oversight imposed. Training rewritten. Complaint reviews no longer buried. Supervisors who had ignored earlier warnings were reassigned. Some resigned. Officer Reina Martinez was promoted. Her decision to question, to hesitate, to hand over the keys it mattered. Marcus Reynolds returned to duty 3 weeks later. The classified briefing he had missed was rescheduled. The operation it supported went forward. Successful. Still redacted. 6 months later, Reynolds was promoted. His service continued quietly, the way it always had. He still shops at the same Whole Foods, same aisles, same checkout lanes. The difference now is invisible but permanent. The cameras are still there. The receipts still print. The records still exist. And somewhere in a federal facility, Derek Sloan is serving 13 years. Not because of a single bad decision, but because every camera showed exactly who he was when he thought no one important was watching. Marcus Reynolds understood something that morning on the floor. That composure is a weapon. That documentation is ammunition. And that truth, when recorded, doesn't blink. Power can lie. Memory can fade. But cameras don't. And once they roll, the story belongs to the truth.